I have seen women and people of color spend an enormous amount of energy, emotional energy, and mental, intellectual energy trying to figure out how not to be perceived in that way. How can I get my point across, but make sure nobody in the room sees me as too aggressive or, trying to steal someone else's thunder? Guess what? You can't. You cannot make sure that no one in the room sees you that way because you cannot control their thoughts. Those lie outside your circle of control. What you don't want to do is spend so much energy trying to manage what people think, their perceptions, that you don't invest energy in trying to make your point as clearly, as strongly, as succinctly, and concisely as possible in order to maximize the likelihood that you will be heard. So you're putting your attention to the wrong thing. Also, I think I may have even made this point when we were talking about how women rise. When we get involved in managing people's perceptions, we forget the fact that people change their mind all the time. And I always use that story that happened to me about a boss I had when I worked in corporate communications. This is back in the 80s. And went to a meeting. I was the only woman. I was the most junior person there. And I had an idea and I shared it. And afterwards, my boss's boss came up behind me and he said, "Well, you're certainly not afraid to tell us what you think," in the most scathing and dismissive way. And I thought, okay, I'm done here. My career's over, but what can I do? What was amazing is I did not say to him, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Was I out of turn?" But I wasn't defensive either. I didn't say, "Well, I have a perfect right to speak my mind." I thought it was a good idea. I just said, "No, I'm not." That's all. Not defensively. "No, I'm not." And what was interesting, and he sort of walked away, offended. But what was interesting was about 2 months later, I was passing by an office, and that same man was in there with a colleague of ours. And I heard him say, he didn't know I was anywhere nearby. I heard him say, "You know what I like about Sally is she's not afraid to say what she thinks." In other words, 2 months had passed. He'd seen me in other situations. And he not only gotten used to it, but something that he once thought was really out of line, he came to value. So this is important to keep in mind when we are managing people's perceptions as they get to know our style. If we are not defensive and we are not apologetic, they will probably get comfortable with whatever it is that makes them uncomfortable. And if they don't, if they're that dug into their own bias, there's very little we can do.